Synaptic pathway. The neural protocol high performers use to rebuild fitness. Your anterior cingulate cortex just fired. That's the part of your brain responsible for conflict monitoring and decision making. It fired because you clicked this video looking for fitness advice. But your body already knows something's wrong. You've been training for months, maybe years. The weights feel heavier, your recovery takes longer. Your motivation to even walk into the gym is gone by Tuesday. And here's what nobody's telling you. This isn't about your workout program. This is about synaptic degradation. Right now, as you're watching this, your brain is operating on damaged neural pathways. The circuits that control motor learning, pain tolerance, and reward anticipation have been systematically weakened by the exact environment that's supposed to be making you stronger. And the worst part, you think you're just getting older or losing motivation. Biologically, you're experiencing network collapse. Your neurons aren't firing in sequence anymore. They're misfiring, cross-wiring, and in some cases, they've stopped communicating entirely. This is what's actually happening inside your skull when fitness stops working. And most people never rebuild these pathways because they're focused on the wrong layer of the problem. They're changing their sets and reps while their neural architecture is crumbling. You think you need a new program. What you need is a new nervous system. Let's start with the mechanism. Your brain doesn't care about your six-pack. It cares about survival. And every single movement pattern you perform, every squat, every sprint, every push-up is managed by something called the corticospinal tract. This is the highway that runs from your motor cortex down through your spinal cord to your muscles. When this pathway is strong, movement is automatic, effortless. When it's weak, everything feels like you're moving through concrete. Here's where fitness culture gets it catastrophically wrong. They tell you to push through and embrace the grind, but what they're actually asking you to do is force a degraded neural system to perform at capacity. And when you do that, you don't build resilience, you build compensation patterns. Your brain starts recruiting the wrong muscles to do the job because the primary pathways are too damaged to fire correctly. You develop imbalances, chronic pain, injuries that make no sense because your form was perfect. The technical term for this is maladaptive plasticity. Your brain is plastic. Yes, it can change, but it doesn't always change in your favor. When you train on broken pathways, your nervous system adapts by reinforcing the broken pathways. You're literally practicing dysfunction, and the more you practice it, the more permanent it becomes. This is why people hit plateaus that last for years. They're not plateauing in muscle growth. They're plateauing in neural efficiency. Research in motor control shows that movement quality is directly correlated with synaptic density in the motor cortex. The more synapses you have, the more options your brain has to execute a movement. The fewer synapses you have, the more rigid and brittle your movement becomes. And here's the problem. Synaptic density doesn't just decrease with age. It decreases with stress, with sleep deprivation, with information overload, with the exact lifestyle most people are living while trying to get in shape. You're not just fighting gravity in the gym. You're fighting cortisol. You're fighting chronic low-grade inflammation that's pruning your synapses faster than you can build them. And nobody's telling you this because the fitness industry isn't built to solve neural problems. It's built to sell you more volume, more intensity, more time under tension. But volume doesn't fix a broken circuit. It overloads it. So let's project this forward. Let's say you ignore this. You keep doing what you're doing. You keep pushing through the fog, blaming yourself for not having enough discipline, cycling through programs that promise to shock your system. What does your brain look like in 5 years? First, your motor learning curve flattens completely. You stop being able to learn new movement patterns. Every exercise feels awkward, unnatural. Your body doesn't remember how to move correctly because the neural pathways that encode movement memory have atrophied. You become that person in the gym who's been training for a decade but still moves like a beginner. Second, your pain threshold collapses. This isn't about being weak. This is about your brain losing its ability to modulate pain signals. The periaqueductal gray, the part of your brain that controls your descending pain inhibition system, stops functioning correctly. Every workout becomes an exercise in pain management. You start avoiding certain exercises, then certain workouts, then the gym entirely. Not because you're lazy, because your nervous system is actively punishing you for movement. Third, and this is the one nobody talks about, your reward circuitry disconnects from physical effort. Your ventral tegmental area, the part of your brain that releases dopamine in response to achievement, stops recognizing exercise as rewarding. You used to get a high from training. Now you get nothing. The chemical payoff is gone. And without that payoff, motivation isn't a decision anymore. It's a neurochemical impossibility. You can't willpower your way through a dopamine deficit. But the deeper cost isn't even physical. It's cognitive. Longitudinal studies on neuroplasticity show that people who lose motor function also lose executive function. The same neural networks that control your body also control your decision-making, your focus, your ability to delay gratification. When your motor cortex degrades, your prefrontal cortex follows. You don't just get weaker in the gym. You get weaker in every domain that requires discipline. your business suffers, your relationships suffer, your ability to execute on long-term goals collapses because the neural infrastructure that supports execution is the same infrastructure you've been neglecting. And here's the truly brutal part. This process is silent. You don't feel your synapses pruning. You don't feel your neural pathways weakening. You just feel off, tired, unmotivated, older than you should be. And because there's no clear external cause, you blame yourself. You internalize it as a character flaw, when the reality is, you're experiencing network failure. So how do you rebuild it? How do you restore neural pathways that have been dormant or damaged for months, maybe years? This is where most people fail, because they approach it like a physical problem. They think they need more sets, more weight, more intensity. But neural restoration doesn't work that way. You can't force a damaged circuit to light up by overloading it. You have to rebuild the circuit first. And that requires a completely different protocol. The framework is called synaptic potentiation. It's the process by which neurons strengthen their connections through repeated high-quality signals, not high-volume signals. High quality. This is the opposite of what most training programs prescribe. Instead of grinding through fatigue, you train in a state of neural clarity. Instead of chasing failure, you chase precision. Every rep is a signal. And the cleaner the signal, the stronger the signal. This is why elite athletes don't train the way recreational lifters do. They don't go to failure on every set. They perform perfect reps at submaximal loads, then stop. Because they're not training their muscles. They're training their nervous systems. They're building highways, not tearing down tissue. And when you shift to this model, everything changes. Movement starts to feel effortless again. Recovery accelerates. Motivation returns because the reward circuitry reconnects to the behavior. But here's the constraint. Your brain can only process high-quality signals when it's in the right neurochemical state. If your norepinephrine is too high, you're jittery and unfocused. If your dopamine baseline is too low, you can't sustain attention on the task. If your cortisol is chronically elevated, your brain interprets every training session as a survival threat and starts pruning synapses to conserve energy. So before you can rebuild the pathways, you have to stabilize the system. This is where most protocols fail. They address the behavior but ignore the biology. They tell you to just show up and stay consistent. But if your brain is chemically incapable of encoding the session as productive, consistency doesn't matter. You're just reinforcing the same broken patterns. To actually rebuild, you need to create the conditions for neuroplasticity to occur. And that means controlling the inputs. For most people, the primary disruptor is stress, not training stress, life stress. The chronic low-grade activation of your sympathetic nervous system that keeps your cortisol elevated and your parasympathetic system suppressed. When you're in this state, your brain is in survival mode. It's not building new connections, it's protecting the connections it has. And the first connections it sacrifices are the ones related to non-essential functions, like voluntary movement and long-term planning. To break this cycle, you don't need more discipline. You need biochemical intervention. One of the most effective tools for blunting chronic cortisol spikes is ashwagandha, an adaptogenic compound that modulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. It doesn't sedate you, it doesn't make you calm. It restores homeostatic balance by preventing your stress response from overreacting to low-level threats. When your HPA axis is regulated, your brain can shift from defense mode to growth mode. And in growth mode, neuroplasticity The second disruptor is sensory overload. Your brain is processing more information in a single day than it was designed to process in a lifetime. Every notification, every screen, every conversation is a signal. And when the signal-to-noise ratio is too high, your brain starts pruning connections to manage the load. It's called synaptic homeostasis. Your brain physically cannot maintain every connection, so it prioritizes the ones you use most frequently. If you're spending more time scrolling than moving, your motor cortex gets pruned. If you're spending more time reacting than creating, your prefrontal cortex gets pruned. To counteract this, you need to reduce the noise. Not metaphorically, literally. One of the most underrated tools for neural recovery is environmental control. Noise-canceling headphones, for example, don't just block sound. They reduce the cognitive load required to filter auditory input. When your brain isn't constantly scanning for threats in the background, it has more resources to allocate to neuroplasticity. The effect is subtle but measurable. People who train in controlled auditory environments show faster improvements in motor learning than people who train in chaotic environments. Your brain can't rebuild circuits when it's in threat detection mode. The third disruptor is sleep architecture. Specifically, the quality of your slow-wave sleep, which is when your brain consolidates motor memories and prunes damaged synapses. If your slow-wave sleep is fragmented, you're not encoding the training sessions. You're just accumulating fatigue. And the primary cause of fragmented slow-wave sleep is blue light exposure in the 2 hours before bed. Blue light suppresses melatonin, which delays the onset of deep sleep and reduces the total time spent in slow-wave cycles. The fix isn't complicated, but it requires precision. Blue light blocking glasses in the evening restore your natural melatonin curve, which improves sleep onset and increases slow-wave duration. But the real leverage comes from pairing this with magnesium glycinate, which acts on GABA receptors to deepen the quality of slow-wave sleep. This isn't about sleeping longer. It's about sleeping deeper, because deep sleep is when your brain rewires itself. If you're training hard but sleeping shallow, you're breaking down pathways without rebuilding them. That's the definition of overtraining at the neural level. Here's what this looks like in practice. You wake up. Your cortisol is naturally elevated, which is correct. That's your body's way of mobilizing energy for the day. But instead of spiking it further with caffeine and chaos, you stabilize it. You control your auditory environment. You train in a state of neural clarity, performing precise movements at submaximal loads. You're not chasing fatigue, you're chasing signal quality. Every rep is a message to your motor cortex. This movement matters. Encode this. Then you recover. You don't scroll. You don't overstimulate. You allow your brain to process the session in a low-noise environment. And at night, you create the conditions for deep sleep. You block the blue light. You supplement with magnesium glycinate. You give your brain the time and the chemical environment it needs to consolidate the day's work into structural changes. This is the protocol. This is how you rebuild fitness from the inside out. Not by adding more volume. Not by pushing harder, but by restoring the neural pathways that make effort feel effortless again. And the difference is immediate. Within 2 weeks, movement starts to feel cleaner. Within a month, your recovery accelerates. Within 3 months, you've rebuilt circuits that were dormant for years. But most people never get here. They stay trapped in the grind, wondering why their bodies stopped responding. They blame their genetics, they blame their age, they blame their program. When the real problem is upstream, the real problem is the nervous system. And until you address that layer, nothing else matters. You don't need a new workout plan. You need a new operating system, because the body you want is built from the brain down, not the muscles up. And once you understand that, once you stop fighting your biology and start working with it, everything becomes possible again. You stop feeling like you're dragging yourself through workouts. You start moving like you did when training was fun, when it was automatic, when your body just knew what to do. That's not nostalgia, that's neural efficiency. And it's available to you right now. The pathways are still there. They're just dormant, waiting for the right signal to light up again. All you have to do is send it. The question is, will you? Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes only, and does not replace consultation or assistance from a professional. Always consult a qualified professional. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video.